Hey guys, so I realized that I never came back to you guys regarding my time in the Dominican Republic when I worked as an intern for the Department of State, specifically the United States Embassy, but specifically, even more niche, the Consulate Division. So, yes, when I was 20 years old, I was selected as an intern through the Department of State to work at the United States Embassy, specifically the consular division in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And that is a mouthful. Whew. And just like a week ago, I found my folder. So I wanted to come back on here and tell you guys about my experience of working in the DR. I do not know if the Department of State still offers internships for people to go abroad and work and live, but if they do, I will definitely encourage you, if you're interested, to go and apply. A little backstory, I am Janelli. I went to school for political science. I've always been fascinated by the relationships between countries. So I have my bachelor's in political science, but I also have my master's from Georgia Tech in international relations with a minor in cybersecurity. So I've always been super fascinated by countries and relationships and how cultures can usually tend to take a back seat when countries have to come together and become allies. And really, it's like this imaginary border that these politicians and political powers have created to say, no, this land is my land, this land is your land, and how can we be neighbors amicably? So we are basically not trying to go to war with one another. And I think it's so fascinating. I think international relations is so fascinating. So I knew that I always wanted to do something in that world. Really, my first choice was to want to be an immigration lawyer. And I still, in my heart of hearts, still am considering possibly becoming a lawyer and doing immigration law. It's a deep passion of mine, but I don't know, your girl be busy. So, long story short, I found my folder and I wanted to bring the receipts of that time when I interned at the United States Embassy. This is May 21st, 2009, says it right here. And I just remember getting that acceptance. I had to go through a serious background check. I actually had a secret level security clearance, and I had like two FBI agents come up to my university, interview me in the library to ensure that I was a good fit for this position. So while I was in the IV unit, or the Immigrant Visa unit, that's the ones for your residencies or your K-1 visas. Those are the long-term visas that people seek. So if you have a child left in another country, if your mom is in another country, if you have siblings in another country and you want to petition them, that would all fall under the IV unit, so the Immigrant Visa unit. Also, have you guys ever heard of a little show called 90 Day Fiance? You often hear them reference K-1. The K-1 visa is known as the fiance, hence 90 Day Fiance visa. And those are usually turned around within a year and a half. Now, those are a quicker turnaround, but those also have the most fraudulent cases. So you have to, for us on the other side of vetting different people and their relationship legitimacy, it is a tougher process, but it's quicker. So a lot of people go that route because they want to get to the United States, but they do it under false pretenses. So definitely don't want to do it that way either. We want to make sure that you're definitely in love and that you're definitely, loving the person that you say that you love that lives across the world. And the only reason why you guys can't be together is due to these international relations and international laws that these countries have put up together, and you have to go through it the legal way, right? So then there's the non-immigrant visa unit, so NIV, and that's another unit that I worked. And that was more like your travel bans, right? Like your church groups. Like if you are in another country and you want to come to the United States because you want to visit Disney World, you want to go to New York, you want to go to Las Vegas, those are called NIV. That means that you come, we give you a visa, it's a temporary visa. You come, you explore, you and your travel band played at different shows in the Midwest. You and your church group decided that y'all wanted to visit several different churches here, and then you go back home, right? So the process isn't as stringent, but people do overstay on those visas, and that's where you become kind of illegal because you're technically lying, coming here saying you're going for these things, but then you overstay. For that process, we're looking at what type of hold do you have back at home? We're looking at, do you have businesses that will make you want to go back home? How much family do you have back at home that would make you want to go back home? If you don't have a lot of reasons to stay in your home country and you're applying for a non-immigrant visa, more than likely you will not get it because you're telling us that you want to go to our country and that you will be honest enough to want to go back home. But if you have nothing to go back home to, like a thriving business or family or your livelihood, essentially, like your money, like what is your financial, like what does your bank look like? Then to us, we're like, you're not trying to go back. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. So I worked in the immigrant visa, so the IV unit, and during my time there, I had to make sure that I was creating the cases, the files. Basically, it was like folders like this, but super thick with information per each applicant. Do they have children attached to this application? We want to see photos of legitimacy of, this mother-daughter relationship you guys say that y'all have. We also have to go through, DNA testing if it is a mother-child or father-child situation. If it's not, if it's the fiance, we want to see, proof of the relationship. We need to make sure that this is a legitimate relationship. And again, the only thing that's keeping you guys apart is this process, and that you guys are so madly in love. And working in the visa, I learned so much about people. I learned so much about diplomacy, and I learned so much about the Foreign Service Officers, or FSO. So the Foreign Service Officers are diplomats. They are the representation of the United States abroad in these other countries. And all of these other countries that we have relationships with, they are friends with these other countries. So we have to have representation of our friendship on their soil. And in order for people to apply to come to the United States, you have to go through these embassies. Now, have you ever been abroad and you lost your passport or you lost something of an important document for you to get back to the United States? You would have to go through the embassy to achieve getting another passport. And we are, well, not we, but they are, they're just your friend abroad should something happen to you. They're your protection as a citizen of the country that you're from in another country to ensure that, you get back home safely. So one of the other things I had to do was I had to do the fingerprints. I had to do 4 fingers, 2 thumbs. And this was where we had to put it through a system to ensure that you weren't a criminal here in the United States. I've seen cases where I would do the fingerprinting, and as soon as I ran it through the system, lo and behold, they had a traffic violation, and then they missed their court here, and they would put that they never came to the United States, or that it was so long ago that they didn't think to put it down. But really, if there are more severe cases where we check your fingerprint and you have been put through our system and you have a felony, that makes it a lot harder to get through, because now not only did you lie to us and tell us that you haven't had any issues here in the United States, but it also lets us know that you've been to the United States and who knows how you got to the United States the first time, and now you're trying to go through the process legally. That's a whole nother can of worms, but I was able to shadow a lot of the local officers and see, really test the legitimacy of these relationships and kind of go into the field and ask neighbors and ask people, hey, do you know this couple? How often do you see this couple? When you see them, do they appear to be a couple? Things like that, because when you're in another country, most people, their lives are centered around street gossip, and they're going to give you the tea. They're going to let you know what's going on. And so it gives us an insight to figure out, okay, are these people really telling us the truth? Are they truly in love? Or are they just doing this for, sorry, the video ran out, but are these people doing it for papers? So yeah, my time in the Dominican Republic was incredible. I often reference that experience as one of the greatest experiences I've ever done, and I was only 20 years old. So if you guys have any more questions about my time in the embassy or anything you want to know. Now, I am not a diplomat, so I do not know how they're running things, what they're doing. Again, for context, this was in 2009. So much has changed. It's about to be 20 years since I did this internship. So please do not ask me questions about current status, who you can contact right now, because I just don't have that information anymore. I just wanted to share about my experience and to also give you guys insight into these programs that the government may offer, or these internships that if you or someone you know is interested in doing, or even just the career foreign service officer, like just knowing about that. I had no idea what that was, and being able to kind of go through this experience really taught me a lot about diplomacy and being diplomatic and the relationships between countries and how the process works and how these people of service are really out here really doing the Lord's work. They are there reuniting families, and yeah, maybe one day I will become a foreign service officer myself. That might be my second career in life. So, bye.